Hello and welcome back to Understanding Crypto. My name is Herve, and every other day here I try to bring you crypto in the easiest way possible on the internet. If that is the type of content you find interesting, be sure to click the like button and subscribe to the channel so that you don't get to miss any other value-packed video like this one. Now, today we are joined by an astrology expert. Her name is Andreea. Welcome, Andreea.
Thank you for having
And
me.
yeah, and I know a lot of people have some, issues with astrology, and I just think it's just been I think many people don't understand how it is, how it works, and I think it would be a very interesting thing for all of us to, try to learn about it because I've seen her work and it really does work a lot of the times, and so many times that I do technical analysis, well, we don't have any time access, so it is very difficult to link price with time, which is why I decided to invite Andreea here so that she can tell us more about this thing that we can use, on our way to the El Dorado, the fountain of wealth. So, what is astrology? Tell us, what is astrology?
Astrology, I would say it's an art and a science at the same time. It's a science because it's linked to astronomy, and there are mathematical ways of dividing the whole zodiac, so the planets in the sky and the stars. It's basically a study of the movements of celestial bodies that we all accept they exist in our solar system, and their influence, their impact on human life, but also on nature. I start, of course, with humans because this is the primary domain where astrology is applied, but it can be applied also to a financial asset. As long as we know the birth time and the birth date for that financial asset. So for any asset, let's say, or human that is to be studied, we need a snapshot, like a photo of the position of the planets at the moment of birth. And this is basically very important in order to see from there where the planets go. They move all the time. And actually, it's very interesting because the very same configuration that happens as in the moment you were born, so with you, I say any in the audience, it will happen in 26,000 years.
What I don't understand, and this is really something that I try to get because I have the scientific approach to anything. Yeah, I try to understand things, even though some things may be outlandish. I try to understand them, but what I don't get is how do planets and their movements, what does that have to do with us? Like how do you go about predicting something based on planets? How does that work?
I will give you some examples how it was used since ancient times, so thousands of years ago. So, for example, I can give a very, I think, obvious example even now today. If we look at the ebbs and the flows in the ocean and in the seas of the world, it is linked to the moon, isn't it? Our
It is linked
fluid,
to the moon. I know that because that's like gravity of the moon, actually. But
yes.
then, because I've seen a lot of your videos. I started watching your videos like I think a year ago, about a year ago or more, actually. And but I do things like Fibonacci. Yeah, I use Fibonacci a lot in my analysis. And to be quite honest, a lot of the times I don't understand why it has to stop at a certain Fibonacci level. I understand that there are some mathematical links, to numbers and stuff, and it kind of makes sense. But I've seen a lot of people on social media, even, traders and stuff, and they bash on astrology. They say, no, that thing is like astrology, and everybody condemns it. Like a lot of people just condemn it, yeah, without necessarily understanding what it is. When a friend of mine actually introduced Bitcoin to me in, I think that is like 2010. And I told him it will never work. I told him this is nonsense. Like, what are you telling me? I told him it's nonsense. It won't work because I did not understand it. And actually, that's why the name of my channel and name of my page and everything is Understanding Crypto, because I missed out on an opportunity of a lifetime, simply because I did not understand it. That taught me a lesson to seek to understand anything before I say, oh, this is garbage or something. So, but do you have like a reasoning as to why, the movements of planets relate to why price may go to some level, or why price may behave somehow someday? I mean, I've seen how it has worked a lot with your forecasts, but what's the connection there? What's the connection between planets and Bitcoin? What's the connection?
Maybe gravity and energy to summarize it, but it's like for a human being because, like I said, you have a snapshot at the moment of birth, and then the
Mm,
planets would move and will make different angles to your own planets, how they were at the moment of birth. Some angles are 120 degrees or 60 degrees. This is basic, geometry scientifically, which people can follow and understand.
mhm,
And it has been seen that there is a correlation between price increase and such angles which are positive angles. We have also the situation where price decreases. Then we have oppositions like 180 degrees angles,
mm,
and some of the conjunctions like 0 degrees would also cause price drops. The square, the 90-degree angle, will also produce a decrease. So this is based on observation. So we observe, we have the price history usually. So
mhm,
how we work is to trace back, to do a sort of back testing. This kind of aspect and planetary influence would give this effect on the price because we have them at daily level, even 1 hour level. Now with technology, also 1 minute level, we can go into a lot of detail, I would say. I can't claim that astrology would predict it to the minute, but hour by hour, we can predict. We can predict pretty good, I would say. Of course, the accuracy depends also on the amount of data we have. So what I want to say, what I mean by that, we do have a time of birth for all of us, and the most accurate time of birth would also lead to the most accurate predictions in life. And this is tested, yes, humans was the domain where it was applied. So this is the same for astrology, for financial assets. And what we couldn't prove until now, unfortunately, because for the stock market, there are people who studied it since 1900s. Can you imagine with classical ephemeris, which are the positions of the planets each day, with no computer? And they did it quite well. Of course, not so many people invested. The news were flowing with another speed, not like today. We need
yeah.
to recognize that. But it was a very interesting observation. And the problem is that we never had the time of birth, the hour and the minute for any stock, for any index. Because
Mhm.
yes, we predict S&P 500, XAU, NASDAQ, of course. But in my work, for example, I use a certain approximation because for astrology, it is mandatory to have an input like it is the birth time to the minute level. You can do it to second level precision as well. Now, crypto, why really it's so interesting? In the blockchain technology on the Genesis block, most of the time, if we
Yeah.
don't have a
Yeah.
developer bug, like XRP has a developer bug, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but all others, BTC, we have the minute, we have even the second.
Yeah.
So
That
it's
it was
really
created.
second.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is really a golden mine to astrology, I would
Wow.
say.
Wow. Wow. That's interesting. That's really interesting because I watched a video some time ago, and I don't know if it's true, but apparently, some great people get born in a certain month. I don't know if that is true. Like it's like some months are bound to, create, or some people are born in June, some are born in December, and statistics, and I don't know if this is true, has shown that psychopaths, get born in certain months, and geniuses get born in certain months. I don't know if is there any relation between month of birth with greatness or anything like that. Do you have any data on that?
I think there is a certain link to it, but also, like you mentioned, genius, but for what? Because you can be
Hmm.
genius in music, in math,
Yeah,
or in
yeah.
the stock market, like Ghana, it's the
Hmm.
6th of June. So this is linked to Gemini, to markets in tropical. In the sidereal zodiac, it's Taurus, which is again money, finance, banking,
Mm.
markets.
I'm
So
actually I'm
yes,
actually a Gemini guy. 21st
wow,
of,
very
of
good.
yeah, 21st of June is my birthday. I think this is summer solstice,
Happy
yeah?
birthday, belated happy birthday
Thank you,
then.
thank you.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, I think maybe there is, well, I'm just assuming now because it means something good for me. So so
there is
yeah,
a
maybe
link.
maybe there is a link there. I'd force the link even if there was no link.
Hmm?
So all right.
It
So
is, but it's not everything, because you do have also the other planetary influences. When we say we are born, we refer to the position of the sun, but we have the moon, we have Mercury, we have Saturn, we have Jupiter, which all influence that sun, and this also plays a role, I think. So it's not sufficient, only the month, but also the other angles with the planets. And I would say also another cause that I saw in my own practice in astrology, that people with outstanding horoscopes, they don't make it, is because they don't live the period of life for success at the appropriate age. So, for example, it can be in your chart, that you have the Mercury period, and this would be extraordinary for you. And if it happens when you are 90 years old, let's say that you live that long, then you cannot benefit from it in the same way. If it would happen at 30, when you are at the pinnacle, of career, you are already formed, then you can benefit from that. So it's a lottery in a way. And this thing, how the various periods of time are really allotted to, this is established from the position of the moon at birth. So it's very important.
I kind of, I don't know if it's true again, but I kind of noticed that there are certain months of the year that, are usually my bad months.
Yeah.
I do the same thing that I usually do in those months, and it simply does not work. And after those months, everything just works normally. It's like I'm getting from a bear market into a bull market. I even made a
Mm.
post in my Discord, and I think I did made that post on Twitter as well. That I think, and usually I just, I have this, um, I like, catching patterns. I recognize patterns quite frequently. So I tweeted and I left it in my Discord that I think we all have bull markets and bear markets, just like Bitcoin and every other market. I think that there are certain periods in your life that you do everything and it won't work. And there are other periods that everything will work with no, not as much energy that you put into the other times. So maybe, yeah, maybe this is actually true. I'd say at least I learned something very new today. So, but how do you see the markets now? Now that we are, well, historically, we'd be getting into the explosive phase of the bull market historically as we go into the ending part of this year. And that usually will last into the early part of next year. And maybe throughout the summer, we will consolidate and then have another explosive event by the ending part of next year. This is relating to past events and past history, basically. So, how do you see this bull market in the astrological perspective? How do you see us both in the short term and in the long term? How do you see the bull markets playing out?
I see it quite unique in a way because I think it's a big moment. It is the first time that we do have institutional money, so to speak, in Bitcoin.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I do
Agorap and
think,
stuff.
yeah, so it's the trading and the investing, I think, would become much more professional. And I think the correlation with macro will get more and more importance. Political, geopolitical related events will influence Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then all these will influence the whole market. So that would be my message. You asked me for the short term. Actually, I don't know if you want, but I prepared some slides, with very concrete dates if we want to go in such detail.
Yeah, sure,
I
sure.
really used that. And yeah, but just to summarize, in the beginning, I do see July and August still unstable, somehow bearish, because some people even say we are not in a bull market, because you see what happens also. We have the dump today on the 24th of June, on Bitcoin, of course, it was thin, but we do have an upward trend as well. But some people really disagree on that. Either you see it with TA, long-term Fibonacci levels, or, some patterns, GAN or whatever, people,
Yeah.
Elliott waves and what
Hmm.
is really used. Or, some people see it, some people don't see it. So I see also between traders disagreement there. So astrologically, after the rules of astrology and the analogy with the last halving cycle in 2020, it's very similar astrologically, I would say.
2021.
I Yes. The single problem is the institutional money, and I think it will be very linked to the liquidity because you have, the direction and the promise astrologically, but the magnitude would be really driven by liquidity. As long as the Fed doesn't really decrease rates, the monetary policy doesn't really ease. I do think it will be a bit of difficult summer, so to speak. So there would be opportunities, like we see. There are always some old coins which pump, the memes, like
Hmm.
even
Hmm.
10x or whatever in a short time frame if you catch them early and you know what to do. But I see this climate like, yes, they have very good astrology, most of them after, but I try to see how to really hunt them. But this thing will not be stable if Bitcoin is not stable and Ethereum is not stable.
Yeah.
And these two will be stable only when the liquidity cycle would really allow it. So I see July, the 20th of July is linked to a important astrological event, which is not the best. It's Uranus crossing the unlucky star of Algol, which will bring a dip in the market. I think it will be sudden and temporary. Recovery will happen afterwards. But like you said, there are these patterns, like with your lucky month and, months where you do the
Yeah.
same, but
Yeah.
still the luck turns the other way around. We need to reckon that this happens for Bitcoin as well. So, usually September bearish,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
people
September is
already.
usually a bad month. So you think that July and August may just be like June, like consolidations and perhaps drops.
Yes, and pumps for some of them, but I want to say a thing that I don't know how people would really resonate with this. I do see in the next year, and I analyzed the time period between June 2024 until the end of May 2025
Okay.
as very good and favorable for Ethereum. In other words, from August onwards, this year, I see Ethereum in general overperforming BTC. BTC doesn't have the astrological strength. I know that institutions are there, it's also a lot of money and the market cap I don't say that BTC will not increase. I think it will, but it will be a very sort of how should I put it, regulated increase. So it will be very
Yeah.
controlled, professional. We will not see the jumps that we saw before. It's a mature asset relatively, no? And
Hmm.
it's important to look at that as a preservation of value, but also I see, ordinals and other innovations in BTC as possible in the next month. So yes, I don't say it's entirely bad, but ETH seems stronger. ETH has each month from now until May, including
2025, May 2025.
exactly. This is where I looked really in detail. It has a lot of positive aspects astrologically long term, which are powerful. So we've paired with a positive liquidity cycle and an ease monetary policy. I do think we can be more bullish on the price targets for ETH, to be honest,
Hmm. It's
in this time
interesting
span.
because my analysis is also very good for Ethereum. I am under the idea that ETH has bottomed, you know, with its BTC pair. I think it will overperform BTC, and I do think it could do anywhere around a 3x into this bull market. So yeah, that's interesting. But do you think this will affect Ethereum-based altcoins like Ethereum layer twos, like the likes of Arbitrum? Do you
Yes.
do you have any forecast for those?
Yes, actually, I looked into around 180 coins, over 180 with individual horoscopes, because yes, you have the total two, total three, and so on, but astrologically, you have an individual horoscope for each of them, and it's
How
then
long how
difficult.
long does it take you to do that for one coin? Like how like time
It
estimate?
It depends on the amount of time and the details. I have various consultations and reports for this, because some people are interested, especially in the blue chips or Lana, for example, or
Mm-hmm.
Matic or
Mm-hmm.
XRP. Of course, they want to know. So it depends how complicated the astrology is. So if I do 1 year, for example, for one coin, it would be like around 1 hour and a half, 2 hours, but it will not go into much detail, but it will go into all the important inflection points. And if this level of detail doesn't really work, then if you go into more detail, usually, you don't get the return. So it is guaranteed. So I take all the planets, for example, until Mars and including Mars. Mars is a very important planet for the price action. And you will see fluctuations. You will see also major weekly and monthly with influences of Mars. And for a month, for example, some people want a coin in detail, and I have this subscription, which is monthly basis. It's around 1 hour for a month for an altcoin. Therefore, I limit the number of altcoins lately because I saw people want, especially now with the bull market, they want to know everything. But I
Yeah.
collected my research in a product with over 180 altcoins where I look at the explosive triggers, because I cannot do all the calendars for them. But this would help in technical analysis. I have feedback from traders regarding this, and it will also help you spot trends, but you need to combine it with TA. It's not a silver bullet astrology. I tell them all the time.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
know TA, also in
yeah.
TA, you don't have one
Of
indicator
course,
which
yeah,
works for
yeah,
everything, no?
yeah.
So
It's always a probability. Yeah, I get that. But then, what months between now and perhaps the ending part of the bull run do you think we will have the most explosive phase in these markets?
yes, I prepared myself for this because I knew this comes, and
Yeah, yeah,
everybody is, eagerly waiting for these peaks. I see them in line with the liquidity cycle, like I mentioned already. So to have a guess, I would say, and I tell you also why. Usually when eclipses occur, well, we have a top usually, in the year, even if it's the bear. If it's the positive eclipse where we have a lot of energy there, either solar or lunar eclipse, it depends again on the configuration in the sky, we will have a top around that date. It doesn't have to happen on the date, could be 2 weeks before, because eclipse is powerful. It can have an influence of 6 months around that date, or even years for solar eclipses that are quite strong. We don't have total solar eclipse, or they're not so strong right now, but they are strong. And so I see them, so when it happens in September, October, this is the eclipse time, the eclipse season that comes, and it is in sidereal on the Pisces Virgo axis. I mention it only for people who have some basic knowledge of astrology. The thing is that these signs in the architecture, in the horoscope of Bitcoin, they are quite advantageous for Bitcoin, and there are advantages for Ethereum as well. And I would say that I see a top around, mid-October. 16th of October, I have as a very good date for both Ethereum and Bitcoin, actually. And
October this year or next?
This year. I think so. We will have 2 peaks maybe, because if you look at the last halving cycle in 2021, we had around 63.7K, I believe it was mid-April. And then on the 13th of November, I recall it was 65.1K. This is as tracked by Yahoo Finance. So I know that we can track them in. So this is what I looked at. So we had already what was a sort of not normal for us. We had a peak before the halving, if you remember. So it was mid-March, and it was 73.5K, so an all-time high.
Yeah, I think it's 73.8 or something.
Yeah. So again, I take from, I took a snapshot only, so I didn't look, in much detail, but this is the tops that I saw. So I would say that we will have other 2 tops, and this will be according to the peaks of the liquidity cycle, because I could imagine that the interest rates will be eased in steps, not each, and not everything at once. So we will have a decrease of the interest rate, then we will have a peak. I think we will have another decrease, and then I'm afraid we will start to go down, so to speak, because it's like, it can't last forever. So I see for these peaks, October, November, also in line with the elections in US. I think there would be something there that would really shift things up. So monetary policy and geopolitical factors, which will really pump more institutional money into ETFs.
So by peak, I just for the audience, you mean like short-term peak, like a local top, not like the bull market top.
Yeah, a local top that is quite strong, I would say.
Oh, so that could really be, that could be, I do have some levels, and I suspect that if we take out this previous high at 73-ish, I think there could be some type of top coming in right there that could take us somewhat deeper than we've gone so far. But how then do you see the bull market playing out, like until when would the bull market be over astrologically?
Okay, so astrologically, so just think, it's much easier to look at the peaks than at the bottoms. So the absolute peak, I see it somewhere in June, maybe around 24th of June 2025, because astrologically we do have an exalted, this is maximum position of Jupiter. It happens once in 12 years, and it conjuncts, it's together with the sun. And around that day, we have a Venus North Node positive aspect in the sky, and Venus stays for cryptocurrency in general. So if I look only at, the astrology, the global astrology, that would be a very positive time, and it could really yield into a peak. But from there, I think it will start to decrease a bit. I don't say a lot. a month that I see really problematic, and it could be, the official end of the bull market. It would be December 2025, based on astrology, because there are hard aspects from Pluto and Uranus, and this really brings decreases to the financial assets. It will not be only for Bitcoin, but we see also correlation with S&P 500 and indices in general. So I think it will be a sort of deceleration of the pace, and December is a point. I didn't look beyond December 2025. But it's important to take that date into account. Also, I want to say that on the 7th of July, 2025, we have an important transit of Uranus, which is the planet of innovation, into the tropical Gemini, which is markets, as you know. So it's linked. So it's really a
Oh,
very
Gemini is kind of linked to the markets. Interesting.
Yes, it is linked because it's Mercury, and Mercury is linked to trading and to investing, but also to communication and to e-commerce. Therefore, I would say that December 9th, I think, if I recall correctly, and the mid-December 2025 do have some astrological influences which are not so favorable. But I also want to warn that we don't see a crisis. So I think the next economic crisis sort of will be 2032 rather. So it could be felt a little bit before, but I think we have some relief this year with innovation in the markets, and then the very next crisis, 2032, would be experienced in a way that we can't imagine now. We don't know what will happen with AI. I think everything will be very powerfully transformed, and also AI will be a part of it. Because this tropical sign of Gemini is also transited by Sedna, which is an asteroid that we see astrologers based on studies that it's linked to AI. It is linked to the birth of ChatGPT, and we see all these AI coins, and it's in the same sign actually like Jupiter at that time. So it will be an enhancement, of AI, of innovation in the markets. So I think the markets will never be the same until July. And then we would need to analyze them in a different way. It's another era for the markets, so to speak.
Wow.
And
Because there's this guy, Samuel Benner. I don't know if you've heard about him. He was some farmer in the 1800s, and he's predicted a lot of big crashes. And according to him, there's going to be a catastrophic fall by I think he's relating to somewhere around 2026-ish. And that fall will lead us right up to 2032. And that may only be the time when the markets do resume and come back greater. So interestingly, but your own idea of 2032 may actually be a crash or something?
It will be a crash because these economic cycles are driven by Saturn and Uranus, and Jupiter and Uranus respectively. Again, the angles in the sky between them would really help with interpretation. And for example, why do we say, and I'm convinced we are in a bull market, we had a Uranus-Jupiter conjunction, so they were together, which is very positive actually. The problem is that the sign of Taurus, is not the best for Uranus, to be honest,
So
in
you
terms of their
think,
astrological.
yeah, so you think we are going to perhaps top by June 2025, consolidate and maybe have some few more peaks here and there, and finally top out from the bull market completely by December 2025, and then have a normal bear market 2026 and continue this same cycle that we've been having all along. before then, by 2032, we will have a bigger crash.
Yes, yes, in a nutshell, yes. And also the crash will be maybe very different. It will be a crash of the AI, so to speak. I don't know
Hmm.
what could happen at that time because, with all these smart contracts and, the innovations in the markets, I think a lot of emotion, will be wiped away because we humans maybe will not do that much in the future and we will
Mm-hmm.
trust more and more the AI bots. Not that they are not here today, but who would trust, 1 million euro on the bot? I don't think people
Yeah.
would do that now. Maybe they do $100 or I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, but I think it will become only smarter, and then it will be a very different type of crash that would have other consequences, but also other causes, so to speak, not human emotion, not like news, for example. Because I see currently the whole, this was really, in the interpretation of the eclipse. So BTC is will be very driven by news, their evolution now, especially with institutions. You saw also the war with Israel really dropped the market like it was really that took people by surprise, and it was really in April.
Mm.
It will be very news driven, I would say, and reaction will be very prompt, and but then it will recover. The thing is, do you want to take in this volatility or do you need the money today? So that would be the question. So I see the market's quite volatile, and after the 2032 crisis, the next decade roughly looks much better than this one. For the markets, I see now the astrology of the weekend really taking fruition. But you know that it's Germany dumping Bitcoin and 9 billion plus 3 billion from Mount Gox as well. So again, what I said, it's institutions. They will play their cards and it
You know,
will be.
what I find interesting with these institutions and governments is that they can, you know, basically dump their BTC, and it's not like they bought the BTC, they confiscated it from somebody or some
Yeah.
people, and they can do that. Nobody calls them, scammers. But but I see a lot of crypto influencers being called scammers for dumping. But it's the exact same thing that governments are doing and institutions. Kathy Wood, the other day, I heard that ARK Invest sold some of their BTC. So I was like, so she's a scammer because they say all sorts of good things about Bitcoin, and they can just sell at any moment. And that greatly affects the entire market, you know. But then apart from your Ethereum idea of Ethereum overperforming BTC, what other altcoins have you researched, or what other altcoins do you think that stand a higher chance of doing well in the coming bull?
I will talk about mainly blue chips, so to
Yeah,
speak,
yeah, yeah.
because
Just
others
just
are
blue chip. Yeah,
risky,
yeah.
So I can tell you that I see Solana well, despite of the volatility. It will grow, but in a volatile style. It has a very powerful aspect. I remember even the date on the 19th of July. I'm still working now on the horoscopes for July for major blue chips. Solana, and this is an influence for at least 6 months. So Solana, I still see well, in the background. Of course, each day something can happen. If the government would sell Bitcoin, everything would go down, temporarily. But the idea is that these would recover. This is also what I tell people. I hunt these strong long-term aspects because this means it's like protection. Yes, they would cash in the drops. It's no other way because it's a global event right now with Saturn and Neptune changing direction between the 29th of June and the 2nd of July. But we experience it earlier because now we have other negative astrology in the sky. We need to expect that. So yes, I have Solana on my list. And another one which is interesting, I would say, but didn't really move or maybe doesn't give much chance, but I think it can move a lot is dot, so Polkadot.
Oh, Polkadot, because yeah, I'm a big fan of Polkadot,
Hmm?
In the last cycle, it didn't really do much, and I've been I read some report by that was Electric Capital. They had a report about potential narratives that may outperform in this bull, and they mostly talk about like layer zero and interchain communication. And so
Yeah.
my focus was a lot more on Polkadot. So yeah, I'm excited to see how it will grow. Any other coins you think may outperform?
Others, I have a long list in my product, but they are riskier, they are
Mm.
riskier. So AI coins for sure, I would say. In general, not all of them. Some of RWA. So I think I investigated a set of 7 based on astrology. We do have actually chances in other categories as well. Let me check only for a moment.
RWA,
I hope,
this
yeah,
real
I
world
hope it's
asset,
not
the
blocked.
real world asset coins and stuff.
Yes, yes. Because, again, institutions, BlackRock would really buy them and then the price would go up. So, of course, there's a lot of speculation about that. But I also see that astrologically, they do have some chances. And yes, bear with me 1 minute because I can't remember, the whole list. But I have a calendar view each and every month with these growth triggers. And Polkadot, for example, is one which will be hit 3 times by Uranus and also Jupiter and Rahu, because from my knowledge, these are really observed as being the triggers for growth and fast recovery in case dumps happen. And yes, dumps will happen all the time. So let me see. Let me see if I can disclose a bit. I see actually from the blue chips, the BNB and Matic also very well. And wormhole, yeah, I mean, one needs to be attentive, but it has good astrology. So I think if I share this, it's quite, decent to talk about these. They're not too risky, but there are also others that are smaller caps. And I think from October, when the things will be more stable, maybe September would be a good month to buy because BTC would be bearish. Majority of them would be, let's say, after BTC, they will be as a side effect bearish. So it would be a good time to buy because they would really grow. The ones, of course, with good astrology, you cannot guarantee for all, but you know how it is in a bull market. Usually, at least previous experience with no institutional money, all would go up. But the
Yeah,
question
yeah,
is,
yeah.
who would go up more? Everybody wants to make
Yeah, they
a
will
better
all go up.
return.
Yeah, that's what I've been telling my audience for quite some time now, that all of them will go up. But then which one actually gets to do the most gains? That's where things become confusing. But yeah, Wormhole has a smaller market cap and it's on Solana. I also do think that it will do pretty well. My ideas for Solana will be for Sol to go anywhere around 600, and my maximum target for it is 1,199, which is approximately 1,200 for Sol. But
Mhm.
when do you think we come out of this consolidation and constant consolidation and drops? I mean, it's just been boring for
I
a very
know.
long time now, since I think that this has been now for about, this is like 200, no, about 34 days since we topped. No, from the main top, we've been going down and mostly consolidating for about, let me quickly look here, 102 days. So yeah, it's been a very difficult period. But then when then do you think we come out of the trenches? When do you think we come out of this, disaster?
October. Only in October, I think.
October.
So liquidity cycle, unfortunately. So politics and monetary policies, unfortunately. So I still see a lot of bearishness. I'm a more optimistic person, to be honest. So
Yeah.
there would always be opportunities. If you look also now, when everything is dumping, you have gainers. The thing is, can you really hunt them? And if you get like one like Jasmine, who had also a nice ride, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
like people said, oh, this is the next gold mine. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't see it. I see it, yes, for a few months it will run well if
Yeah, I
you
did
and
watch your video on Jasmine. You even had a
yeah.
post on that, and it quite literally rallied the next day. I had a call in my group, which I canceled because I was on the idea that the markets would generally go to the downside. And among all the coins, some of them went up, well, but most of them were going down, and some were consolidating. But Jasmine outperformed all of them. And I remembered that I saw your video about it like the previous day. And that was just a wow moment for me. So yeah. And I also saw your video. I think you made a post on Solana recently, yeah?
Yeah,
On
yeah.
Twitter.
Solana, yes, I think, yes, this is about that mid-July. So don't lose hope on Solana. I also have Solana in my portfolio. I would really, live with volatility. It depends also, for each, because people ask, okay, should I go out? It depends. It depends where you are, what taxes do you need to pay, what is the regulation in your country. Maybe sometimes it's more, and the amount you invested, also
Yeah,
your goals.
yeah.
So there are so many factors to judge. For example, in EEA, so European Economic Area, we will have restrictions with stable coins, Tesla USD and USDC. It will be more and more restricted. So you need to take all these into account. So it's like it's very important to have a clear view of the environment as such. And recently, I also talked about XRP, which had also a small rally, in June, and I also called 28th of June. So let's see, because XRP is also often antagonistic to Bitcoin. If we look, it's not much, but it moved like 6% in a day, and people said, okay, it's really spot on the day. But
Mm-hmm.
now, if you really want to exit or not, this is another topic, which is according to each one, what objectives, financial strategy do you have? So it's investing or other trading, and if you are happy with the 6%, depends, on the amount and so on. So then, yes, you would cash in. So this thing, I think it's important for people to be clear, because I see also the next month with the Saturn influence until November, I think a problem of the slowdown in the summer would be also the regulation and the restrictions. And like I mentioned to you about stable coins in Europe, of course, it's only in one region, but this will be active since June 30th, and it's not clear which stable coins are compliant at the moment, but it seems that the bar is quite high, so it won't be too many. So I think
Mm.
people will have so many changes to cope with, and to be, really aware of that, of all the regulation in all the countries, it's really impossible. So what we can say, okay, it will go up, potentially more, or down, potentially a lot, but we cannot really give advice, okay, you should really exit, because it's like it will be even more complicated, in my opinion, to take the right decision, and each would have to really take it for himself. So if he wants
Mm-hmm.
to delegate this to a financial, expert, crypto trader, investor, professional, then it's another story. And but I think it will get more professional, so to speak. And yeah, Matic also looks promising. I don't see it, really moving, like skyrocketing, like Solana impressed us, for example. But I do think, yes, it's also an opportunity. And Polkadot, let's see, because I think that could be one good surprise that we get in the next month. And
Yeah,
even
but
if
if Ethereum is to do well, I'd be on the idea that Ethereum-based coins, especially layer two scaling solutions on Ethereum, which is why I'm in Arbitrum actually, will most likely do well. Polygon Matic did quite a lot in the past cycle.
Mhm.
I know people who did over an 80x on Matic.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
and the thing with the space is they rarely do that twice. Some
Mhm.
coin that did some crazy gains in the past cycle, and Solana is trying to defy those odds now because it's doing pretty well. I mean, compared to every other coin, it's doing pretty well. Something that I used to bother me actually is that my own estimate as to when the bull market top could be was, or say is, October of next year. I
Mm-hmm.
actually was speculating on the 20th of October, given
Okay.
the past cycles. But then the confusion came when BTC's all-time, or say BTC's new all-time high came before the halving. So
Yeah.
I can't use the halving as a metric to, kind of gauge when the markets could be topping or when the bottom or anything like that. So I am already off by a lot on the timing, since you're suggesting June. Another idea that I had was that since we had a new all-time high before the halving, perhaps the bull market top may not respect the previous bull market top timings as well. So maybe the June could be right, because it will mean that we are like front running everything as compared to the previous cycles. But then astrologically, do you have any sort of explanation why we rallied so early into the bull? Because usually all these things would happen later. Do you have any sort of astrological reason why this happened so soon?
Yes, because we had the eclipse, the solar eclipse, which was positive, 8th of April, and we had immediately after, exactly on the halving. So it was actually one day after 20th of April, 21st of April, depending where you live in the world. It was the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction, which is a trademark of economic expansion. I know that what we live now, it doesn't look like that. But long term, because this is really with an influence until the end of 2025 at least, where, yes, in December we see these problems because other more powerful planets to really drag the price down, like Pluto, would really be very strong at that time. Therefore, I speculate that it will go slowly. It could be that it goes slowly down because Pluto would not deliver the effects suddenly like Uranus. Uranus will occur out of the blue and it will happen unexpected. But with Pluto, it's like a slow death, so to speak. So it's like
Hmm.
it's stagnation, it goes down, progressively, and sometimes you don't even feel it.
Hmm.
But it's
Do
a
you do
long
you
term.
actually do you also analyze Bitcoin dominance and altcoin season?
Not really astrologically. I tell you from the astrology, what I can see is the evolution of the market cap. So, for example, if I see but I don't go into much detail because people ask about the price mainly, so they are more
Hmm.
interested in the price. But
I'm
sometimes
just interested in the time,
yeah,
because that's the part that I lack in my analysis.
yeah.
In fact, I tried trend-based Fibonacci time. I tried Fibonacci time zones. I looked for videos, I looked for books. I asked even ChatGPT to suggest some books for me. I read through some books, and they don't know what they're talking about. Like I tried their techniques and none of them work. I tried to, experiment on my own, and it simply didn't work. So my problem is usually just the time.
Yeah.
I do have a problem with time. But do you have like I don't know, a guess as to when the altcoin season might kick in? Like the full-blown explosive phase in altcoins.
Mhm. That would be maybe from, like I mentioned, maybe from October onwards, but I would
October
say we
this
will
year.
see something. Yes, yes. We will see something before. Why? Because September is bearish, but I'm very curious what will happen with September and with ETH because ETH has very strong astrology in September, and I see it gaining market share. So, for example, from the horoscope, because you mentioned the time, yes, I look at the time. But for example, it depends also in the horoscope what kind of planet from the natal position is influenced positively. Then, okay, let's say I can say 20th of July, I see something good. And then I can say that it is rather a market cap increase and not necessarily a price increase. Because, sometimes one goes after the other, sometimes it's the
Mm-hmm.
other way
Mm-hmm.
around. So
Mm-hmm.
then this would be, I would say, with astrology, the single way to really analyze the dominance in a way and the share of the whole crypto market that a certain coin has. So I see Ethereum increasing there, to be honest, because there are astrological indications towards the market cap portion of the horoscope. And I also want to say I don't, talk a lot about it, but where I tested it and I saw really hundreds of years of, history, it's the stock market. So
Mm-hmm.
from the stock market, this way of analyzing the market cap really works. Now for crypto, I think we need more details because also market cap in general evolves slower. No? It's
Yeah.
like a 4-year cycle from what I saw. And yeah, you could argue that it's a bull bear market cycle in general,
Mm-hmm.
but there are some timings for each horoscope that would need to be taken into account, in my opinion. And of course, it would influence the price as well. But people don't ask too much about this.
So
They
just to be
ask
clear,
only.
we may rally, we may have some sort of relief rally, but it will just continue this chop until October, basically.
I'm afraid, yes. I wouldn't be more optimistic than that because 11th of July, for example, we do have the second hit between Saturn and Uranus on the BTC chart, which happened right now, and now we see what happens on BTC. So if we have another drag,
Mm.
mid-July, this is not so optimal. But we have Ethereum strong. So Ethereum is very strong with a very powerful astrological influence. I tell also the exact date from the 13th of July, even. But I also don't want to give false hope and say, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
now we will get, the whole rally. No, I think it will be still choppy, but Ethereum would be very, very strong. And this is, again, a very powerful, like in the case of Solana. So these two, you see, now that we talk, I think about this could be a correlation. Solana 19th of July, Ethereum 13th of July.
Mm.
Bitcoin, we don't see much.
Yeah,
So this
Bitcoin.
means that altcoins, no? Altcoins,
Yeah.
this triggers into me this idea that altcoin season could really start earlier. But if we talk about, such sums of money like 12 billion in 2-3 days, and if they, continue with this type of trading, so to speak, on BTC, the institutions, then everything will get affected. But just to say that both Solana and ETH have very promising aspects now from summer. Maybe they will not be felt immediately. And October looks already better also at global level and also at BTC level. Again, BTC I don't see excellent. But if on a on a weaker astrological aspect, if the liquidity which is injected in the market
Mm.
is big, then Bitcoin can make it big. I saw experts with targets of 400,000 for Bitcoin.
400,000. That's crazy because
It's
the absolute the highest I can see anyway, with charts alone is about 170.
Mhm.
170,000. Usually we would go higher than my expected higher levels, but yeah, that's just how much high I can see Bitcoin go. Solana, I think anywhere around 1,000 too. That's the highest that I can see.
Mhm.
Um, Ethereum, there is, well, I don't want to say it, but there's a chance it goes to 13,000. That's the highest I can see for it. And
Mhm.
it's interesting because, well, it's the same strategy that I use for all of them. And Ethereum does look extremely good. I'd say that the lowest I think that it will do is somewhere around $9,000. But I did not expect this idea of June, becoming, and that would surprise everybody. If we did have any top around June, because everybody will be waiting for the ending part of the year. And it happened like this in the last cycle.
Yeah,
So
I
many
know.
people were waiting for early 2022. So many people. Some people were waiting for around December, and then we just topped out, and that was it. A lot of people got to huddle into the bear market. And yeah, that could actually be the case. That could actually be the case because it seems like the markets always want to keep liquidity. Like the
Yes, yes,
market wants
exactly.
commitment at all times. Because if there's no
Yeah.
liquidity, then there's no market. So the only way to keep people in the markets is to top out sooner than they all expected. And then they keep waiting for the ending part of the year. And then there is some type of smaller rally, and they say, oh, this was really it. I'll go all in and I make a lot of money. And then the markets just go back to the downside, and that's it. And you just have to wait throughout the bear market. Some people will call it a super cycle. But yeah, that's just my own experience with this thing. It likes to keep liquidity, it likes to keep people interested, invested.
Yes,
Yeah. And,
exactly.
and
May I say also that December doesn't look bad. We do have, so a smaller rally is also possible December 2024. We do have, but not so strong aspects, I would say, astrologically. And it's 16th of December, a date to remember. So 16th of December 2024. So around that date, we could have a peak as well. So I don't exclude it, but I want to warn then that March, April would be problematic, 2025. So it would be a temporary drop and then it would go up again. And that again, I see it as
the main top.
maybe the last, the main top. But just to look in detail at October, because you mentioned October, but I looked I skimmed the next month after June 2025, and I don't see astrologically, a big thing. So there is a Jupiter-Saturn square, which is negative, but it's a moderately negative influence on the markets. And we would have afterwards, the big problem, so more negative energy in December. Therefore, December 2025.
Mhm.
Therefore, I decide for December 2025 as a sort of, the beginning of the decline, to call it, because it won't be sharp. It will be progressive.
This is fascinating to me because it's the exact opposite of what everybody expects. Literally.
Oh,
I mean, before this video, I wouldn't expect that we top mid-year. That's mid-year next year. Perhaps I'd be sitting and waiting for another type of rally by the year's end and thinking that that will be the top rally. Meanwhile, I'm just waiting to be executed in the bear market. So, but yeah, it's kind of interesting to me. I do have my own price targets that I sell in, regardless of the time that we reach those targets. But if we reach those targets this year, I'd be on the idea that we can still continue a rally next year. This is my own general theory. And my idea was that if we reach the targets in the early part of next year, then I will be selling off. And somebody asked me the other time in my group that you'd be selling off your entire holdings and that will be it. And I said, yeah, that will be it. Because if you hold onto your crypto, when they've reached where you expected that they reach, you risk holding them into the bear market. And
yes, true.
what a lot of people in crypto don't understand is we are all traders, regardless of what you invest or how long you plan to hold. You are a trader. The difference is that some people just invest for, or say trade for the day, like day traders, and some trade in weeks, so like swing traders, and some people are more like longer term traders. But even at that, you are just trading because you are buying to sell at a later date in the future. So if the price reaches where you thought it's going to go, then you just have to sell it. You don't have to wait and hear everybody talk about it's going to be a super cycle. And that's the idea in the bull market. When prices have gone up tremendously, I mean, I know some YouTubers in the past cycle that were saying it's going to be a super cycle. They said all sorts of things, and I know some people who follow me now who heard when I was talking about BTC going to 20K when I started calling the top and stuff. And there's a guy who even reached out to me, I think was like yesterday or so, and he told me that he bought into Terra Luna in the last cycle, and he hodled it into the bear market, and Luna just took him out, So it basically went to zero. And I sold Luna at $89, and I sold again at 93. It went to 113. I got so many DMs of people telling me, I shouldn't have listened to you. You said sell. Now I sold. It's up by about how many percent? You made me miss out on these gains. Well, the same people didn't come back to thank me for saving them from zero, you know.
It is always like this,
Yeah, it's
unfortunately.
always like
The
this.
same also with astrologer. You get it right. It's very seldom that somebody would give you good feedback, you know. But if you get it wrong, oh
Oh
my
my
God,
God, you're
why?
dead.
Why
They will come
exactly?
they will come to you with all sorts of messages. All right, it seems like we're running out of time here, but you have a group, yeah? You have your Discord and Telegram channel.
I
And
have
as I understand,
Telegram
you have a
left.
VIP service as well. How does that
Uh,
work?
I do have a subscription. It's not yet VIP. I can't call it like this, but yes, I got some feedback if I should open something like this for people who would be like day traders, especially
Mm-hmm.
BTC and ETH. I see there maybe Solana, so the interest would be focused, on a few, and they would like to trade it. I would think about that. So on Telegram, I have a small group. I think my the social network where I hang out is usually X and of course YouTube. I
Mm-hmm.
started also with TikTok ramping up, and people who are interested in the products and in the subscriptions, they are on Patreon.
I will leave all the links to your media in the description of this video so that you good people can follow up with her. She's really great. I've been following her for over a year now, and a lot of her ideas are just remarkable. And so I'd like to thank you for coming on to Understanding Crypto. Um, Perhaps we will have another video like this. If you guys want that we include her in another forecast, let me know in the comments. And but yeah, until the next one, stay safe and stay safe, Andrea.
Thank you so much, and
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for the opportunity. All the best to you and to the audience. See
Okay.
you.
All right. Thank you.